Welcome to the Empire's Mode server, a creative multiplayer server where builders can create their very own kingdom. I'm Kelton, and it's been a minute since my last video. Yes, I'm still working on the castle, but I thought this server would be a fun side project to create some videos and really walk you through the process of building a mega-base kingdom. Whether you're planning one in a creative test world or building one in survival, hopefully this series of videos will help inspire you and give you some tips and tricks to build your own incredible kingdom. So let's dive in. When starting, the server wanted me to decide what type of kingdom I was going to build. I wanted to avoid the classic medieval style that I'm already doing on my solo world, so I had three options immediately come to mind: a flying city, an underwater city, and a city built into a massive ravine. For each, I found reference images that inspired me, but ultimately decided to go with an underwater kingdom. I always recommend using reference images to narrow down what kind of megabase you're looking for. And don't worry, yours will always be different than the reference, so it just helps to have an image in mind. Once I chose my plot, I went ahead and built the fantasy ship that you see, inspired from this image here. Credit in the description. I wanted an over-the-water location that I could build from, and it doubles as a fun lore piece. Are these visitors who are looking for an underwater kingdom, or are they merchants with goods to trade? Maybe they're treasure hunters looking to raid the ruins of the underwater city. Who knows? I think we'll find out together. Now begins the fun part though, the planning. I know, no one loves this part, but we can keep it interesting. I found the center of my kingdom right about here, and I know that I want the top of my biggest building to have a large dome held up by pillars. A little bit tropish, but I think I can make it a good design. So I'm gonna start off by laying out a circle, as you can see the beginning of down here, just to have an idea of what I'm working with. All right, and with that, we have our ring completed. A nice circle that took many times of making mistakes and having to recount, and math in Minecraft is fun. So the next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna fill this in to get a kind of a flat plane, just to kind of get an idea of where we're starting from. But a good thing to know at this point is I'm not really worried about blocks. I'm actually using this white frog light to be able to keep it very, very bright, add a little bit of light around wherever it is that I'm placing them. But honestly, we're gonna come back here and change nearly all of these blocks. Pretty much everything. We're just gonna change all the blocks. So don't worry too much about palette. We're just looking for shape right now. So let's get into filling some of this out, and then we can work on the pillars around it. All right, and with that, we have ourselves a nice platform to start kind of working off of. And so the main goal with this platform is, again, just kind of a centralization location for our dome and pillars and all that sort of stuff. And with the shaders, it's actually a lot easier to see out of the water than in the water. But it's got some nice size to it. This is 63 by 63. I wanted something 64, but we went with 63 because it's better to have an odd number, so that way we can have a nice point to the top of our building and everything. So we're sticking with odd numbers all the way. And then I went ahead and added some circles into the middle here as well. I use a online circle calculator. I technically can also use Photoshop for that, but the circle calculator is really fast and easy, and I can link that in the description. And it just makes it really easy to kind of put some extra circles in. I don't know necessarily that these will be the ones that I'll use to kind of define where our pillars go, but they're a good kind of starting reference point for breaking up our whole platform into about 3 different generally sections. And I think the center section will probably be more solid. We'll see what I do with the middle there. But one of the ideas that I had while working on this was it would be really interesting to have kind of some king or something, some throne here in the center, in which the area around it was kind of this, lowering levels of seats where people could sit. If you think like a smaller version of the Senate in Star Wars, the old movies, the first 3 movies, I guess, in which the chancellor kind of sits in the middle and then everyone can kind of sit around him. This would be kind of a smaller version of that. But the first thing we're going to do now that we have kind of a platform is figure out what looks good for our pillar height. So I'm going to work on some pillars, and we're just going to get a concept for where we want our top of the dome to start. And I'm thinking somewhere, actually probably where I was, is probably a good pillar height. Yeah, something of that nature. I only have so much to work with before we hit the top of the water, and I know that this kind of dome arc is going to take up a lot of it. So let me figure that out, and maybe I'll actually count 63 down from the top and see where that is, and we'll figure figure out what we're doing from there. So maybe we will have the top of the dome kind of poking above the water. That would be kind of interesting. We'll see. I'm gonna play around with it. I'll be right back. Woo! All right, that gives us nice here. We'll get out of the water again so you can see it a little bit easier. Look at that. The dome is very, very round. I'm not against it, but we'll do some cleaning up to the shape of it. And I did have to move it up a little bit higher than I initially was expecting. You can actually see here where I kind of moved it up 5 more blocks. So it's going to be very tight to the top of the water. We probably will end up having the top poking out above the water just because I've got some design ideas I'd like to do up there. And it is kind of annoying that this is what you get when you're working underwater, that you can't see all the way to the other end. But I'm hoping that by filling it out with some really bright blocks that we can light up the area and make it a little bit more visible. I'm kind of curious now if I throw, well, those are glowing. Those are the frog lights. And we can't see them from over here, so well, it'll just be what it'll be. I still have some fun ideas I want to do with this. But anyway, so now the point is that we've got our dome, we've got our shape. We're going to start working on the pillars, kind of mapping out where I want these pillars kind of orchestrated along the edge of the circle. Then we'll repeat that around the other side, and we'll kind of line them up to the bottom of where the dome is going to be. And we're not going to fill this entire dome in solid. We're going to have some kind of window things through it. We'll see if it actually works out, but I'm going to get to work on figuring out where our pillars are going to be. So I'll see you in a minute. And with our pillars in place, this thing is looking pretty good, The pillars come around. I've got some thick ones right here on the edges, as well as some of these thinner ones, which are 2 wide. And that gives us a lot of opportunity to put some nice detail into them. But again, right now, we're just focusing on the shape. Went ahead and started outlining something that I'm probably going to run up the center of this to really strengthen the center of our dome. But I think what I'm going to do is go ahead and run that column up the middle. I'm looking from here. I think something kind of central in that middle would look really good. And then I'm probably going to play around with putting a little bit of a top to this outer edge here, and then start to try to work out what kind of shape we want for the top of the dome. I think what I'm going to do for the top of the dome right now is just put some temporary colorful block just so that I can really see it and it stands out nicely in the water. And then we can come back in and again change out these blocks once we're changing the detail. Once we're changing the detail. All right, let's get to work on this and I'll be right back. All right, that is starting to really take shape. So, after a lot of block placing, we have ourselves one very nice, very solid dome. Now, the shape may not be perfect. I was not super detailed in terms of trying to make sure that the shape was exactly right, but that's okay because we're going to end up doing a lot of work on this thing, making a lot of changes to it, updating a lot of things and adding a lot more fanciness. So this is just a good palette to start with, and then we can work from there. One of the things I know that I want to go ahead and do is take the pillars that we have down at the bottom and extend them up a ways so that we have these kind of extra pillars around the edge. So I'm going to go ahead and get that done, and we'll be right back and see what that looks like. Good morning, builders. It's another beautiful day, and there has been some really interesting news that has come to the server, and I am so excited about it. Check this out. So if we go up here, there's been a little bit of a gift from the admins. They decided to upgrade the server a little bit, and check this out. We found ourselves, it was supposed to be in the box. I ruined the present. This is supposed to be a present, but here it is. We have ourselves the legendary wooden axe. And if you know what this is about, you know what this is about. Yeah, is right. We have ourselves world edit on this server now. And that means that we get to do some crazy, crazy things. So with it, I've been dabbling and having a little bit of fun, but mostly I have gotten distracted, as you saw at the tail end of the last clip, that I got distracted working on detailing, and oh my, have I been doing some detailing. I have gone over this thing many times, and I'm still not quite perfectly thrilled with it, but it is in a great place for starting off here. And so this is kind of the idea that I was working on, right? These complicated pillars with some really ornate structures between the pillars. You can see I haven't done anything here, and the fact that once you get up to here, we've got some terracotta. I'm bringing in some yellows. I love this design that almost kind of centers around some terracotta there. And I think that the yellow works really well. I didn't want to go too green, but with the water, we're limited in some of our color choices. Reds really don't stand out. This is mangrove here. It's very dark, but mangrove can, in that darkness, really add some nice contrast and some really good light. So this is a great start here. I have obviously a lot of pillars to do around this side. You can see I was kind of dabbling in some detail up there, but look at this. I was able to copy and paste it with world edit over here as well, and man, it's going to make life so much easier to be able to get some really big builds done in really complicated ways. So what I'm working on right now is getting one corner of this entire building situated the way that I want, and then we can copy that corner and duplicate it around the rest of the dome. It's going to be great. So one of the things I want to show off detail-wise is, look at this. This up here, this is actually a glow lichen over a frog lamp, but that glow lichen has a little bit of a swirl to it. And when you step back far enough and you have that patterned glow lichen across all of those frog lights, is that not cool or what? It looks like a really beautiful detailed swirl design and brings a lot of light into this underwater build. It's so cool. So up here, I told you I was going to break up the top of the dome. I'm still not quite fully figured out yet what I'm doing with this, but this is kind of like a little pavilion thing where you can kind of look out. And one of the other things that I want to keep in mind is that this is underwater. That means that you have full access of mobility. You're going ups and downs and all over the place. Think about like flying with Elytra all over. It doesn't matter. You're going anywhere and everywhere. And so opening up the top up here allows people just to swim through the top rather than coming from down below where they might have something down here. I'm also thinking it'd be really cool. What are your thoughts on this? Building some underwater like machine, not really machines, because this is medieval fantasy. Maybe it's powered by some magical crystal, some underwater traveling device. Think about like a instead of a mule and cart and carriage, instead this is a magically empowered underwater device. I think that'd be cool. We're gonna figure it out. One of the things I was playing with and working on the underside of this dome was we have a conduit up here, and a conduit is great. It gives us that dark vision, allows us to see so much more than you could see in those previous clips. Remember I was complaining about if you stand over here you couldn't see the other side of the dome? Well, with a conduit you can see in the dark, darkness of the water. I'm gonna move the one that's up here though, because I thought it'd be really cool. You see the conduit in there, the beating heart of the conduit. Love that beating heart sound effect. I built a large version of that conduit. So there's the eyeball and here's the edges of it. You could even get some of the bubbles floating around it. I'm a tad upset with myself that I didn't build it quite large enough to be able to stick the actual conduit inside of it. How cool would that have been? I may try to rebuild it in such a way that I could put the conduit inside the larger conduit, but I still think it's really cool. We kind of made it a mega conduit, if you will, and that's the one that's going to be kind of floating over top of where the center of our giant conference, giant meeting hall is, the ability for people to kind of come together and listen to whatever king or emperor over this underwater kingdom is, which, I don't know, is it me? Or maybe I'm just the architect building it. We'll figure that out. Speaking of, if you have any ideas on what you think that the ship that is visiting this underwater area is, let me know, because I would love to add that lore into the world. I also did add some glass up here. I don't know that it works super well the way that we have these shaders working. You can see that kind of does some weird reflection things, because when you got reflections underwater with underwater reflections, it does some weird stuff, but maybe we'll keep it. I do want to kind of open this up here a little bit more so it's not just a sealed dome. And so I think doing things like this, I think maybe a little bit of glass, a little bit of something can make a lot of difference. So we got lots of stuff still to work on. I do want to share though, lore-wise, I am happy with a cool idea that I had, and that was that the reason why this entire kingdom was founded initially was by a mage who had a nightmare in the middle of the night. He woke up and he saw a world filled with Endermen. His dreams were full of Endermen, and he knew that Endermen are afraid of water. And his fear was that the Enderman army was going to come and take over the entire world. Now, maybe he was dreaming of the actual end where all of the Endermen are on the islands. Maybe not. We'll figure that one out. But I like the idea that he got scared of the Endermen and that there was going to be an invasion by just an absolute monstrosity of Endermen. And so he takes his people and he creates the first conduit, and together they dive under the sea to protect themselves eternally from the Enderman armies that he saw in his vision. Is it a prophecy of the future to come? We'll have to figure that one out. But anyway, I thought this was a great place to take a pause, and I'm going to see if I can get the rest of these 4 pillars over here done as well, and maybe all the detailing in the sides too. It'd be my hope that I can get this whole dome done for this first episode, but I've got a lot of work to make sure that happens. So let me get to work, and I hopefully will see you in a little bit with a lot of this dome completed. We'll be right back. Welcome to the Imperial Amphitheater. This is where Empress Y'leya holds her court, making announcements, or has her aides make announcements of any new rules to the entire kingdom. I thought it'd be really cool, actually, as I was kind of chewing on the question that I asked earlier, if we weren't necessarily the ruler, but there was an empress that ruled over this underwater kingdom. And this is the amphitheater that I was talking about. Look at all the chairs. We can seat about 300 or so people here. I think it's actually 344 if you were to count all of them individually. But about 300 people can sit in here. And yeah, this is far from finished. We actually have a lot of decoration on the walls out there, as well as the rest of the ceiling up here to go. There's so much more. We did not put our giant conduit back in here. I've saved it outside of here for a minute. But I just wanted to kind of showcase what we've gotten so far and make it, a good ending to the episode, because we're already getting a little bit long. We got so much more to do, so we got many more episodes of this coming. But you can come in here, and I've already added these soul sands, so that way you can travel up all the way to these edges and then come up and find your seat and take a seat and wait for the Empress herself to arrive and tell you what's what. And then you can also come up and leave through here, however it is that you want to get out, and look at the outside of this thing. It is awesome. Now, we've designed it in such a way that this isn't necessarily a standalone building. And what do I mean by that is that while there's a lot that's going on here and there's a lot more that we can do and add to it, I thought it'd be really cool if with our fancy new world edit powers that we could potentially take this ground floor of the ocean and drop it down much, much lower. And by that, I mean we just come down here and knock this all the way down. Maybe we go to bedrock and make this here that you see, the actual top of the building, a much larger building that goes down much, much further. And this is just the very top of it that you can come up here to be able to join in for any of the events or announcements that the queen is going to make. But we got so much stuff to do, so much detailing. If you've been following along on my castle series, you know how I like to detail. And this out here, oh my gosh, this is, to me, so plain. I've got so much work to do. But I just wanted to show you all where we are at so far and bring this first episode to a close. And I love it. I love it. This is so exciting. And I don't know. There's just not that many people that build. There's our conduit over there looking a little weird. Build underwater. And so I think this is a really exciting challenge and one that gives us so many new opportunities to try new things and really test ourselves and being able to push the boundaries of what's possible. And could you imagine the floor of this ocean just going all the way down to bedrock with a bunch of other buildings just scattered all around, really filling this area in, glowing and everything. It's going to be so, so cool. Very excited. But hope you've enjoyed this first episode and all of the lore that goes along with it. We've got a lot more lore coming in the future. If you're interested, feel free to ask questions or give suggestions about how you think the lore should work out. Maybe the one who had the vision of the Endermen attacking the armies of Endermen was the Empress's aide, maybe her court mage, and that's how he's made these conduits. There's a lot of things we have yet to figure out. And yeah, I hope you had a lot of fun. I'll see you all in the next episode, which should be exciting because the server has announced a contest and I'm thinking of participating. We'll see you all then. Have a great one. Bye.